her ability to defend, shoot the three, rebound, pass the ball, and on a team that is awful. Right now, trending to get the #1 overall pick if they win the WNBA lottery. Possibly to draft her buddy AZ Fudd, maybe. But when you look at Paige Beckers is a top 10 player in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Against him, I'm not surprised that he had no back down in his game, because he is a player that plays with confidence and swag, and it was really cool to see him get the job done, and the emotion at the 18th green with the interview with Amanda, especially for like a really kind of like, Jersey boy.
Tough
Good to see a little emotion
with the gold necklace. You're like, oh, what's going on here? Yeah, sure. that was super cool.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
TJ Watt going to the bench.
I don't remember the last time he had a sack in the last month of that season. And then in the playoffs, he did absolutely nothing. And then you're going to give him $41 million a year, $123 million, what, 108 million guaranteed?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Paige Beckers, ready folks, is a top 10 WNBA player right now. You ever heard of the band Gladys Knight and the Pips? Yeah, it's Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. That's what she's got. You know what that means? She's got nobody. Enrique Wumbuale has been awful this year. I don't know if she wants to play there or not.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, getting ready for another big edition of the show. Make sure you stay tuned throughout, because NFL training camps are underway. In fact, we're going to hear from Micah Parsons, who has reported to Cowboys training camp still without a new contract. Same could be said for some other players as well. In addition, we'll have the very latest in Major League Baseball and get you ready for another event on the PGA Tour. Very own Brady Kannon has a preview of the upcoming tournament, and he's very good at picking these with some of the lesser names on the PGA Tour. Also, the latest in the ACC as media days are underway, and a whole lot more on this edition of NewsWire. So let's get started, folks, and start off in Oxnard, California. Man, Dallas Cowboys. Every year it seems like, we start off with them, some controversy surrounding them. All right, so to recap, Jerry Jones comes out a couple of days ago and says that Micah Parsons still undergoing contract negotiations, throws out things like leadership and money and, and agents and things like that. Micah Parsons finally has his response on the field yesterday, and we're going to get to that here in just a minute, because Parsons certainly is one of the top players in the NFL that does not have an updated new contract. He did address it yesterday with reporters when coming off the field after practice. But unlike Jerry Jones, Parsons seems to be taking the high road in these conversations. Here's what he had to say about a new deal and about Jones's comments to the media.
Respect for each other, but stuff gets said in the media. Have you had a conversation with him after yesterday's presser?
No, but I'm gonna talk to him. I just thought as a whole, everyone's situation is differently. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm here for my teammates. I'm not here to please another grown man. I'm here for them. I want to be here with Trey, watch him rehab, watch him get on the field, watch his growth. I want to be here battling with Terrence Steele. I'm here for these guys. I'm not here for him. So I think, at the end of the day, he's on the field with us. We're on the field playing the games and things like that. So I'm going to just control my teammates, keep boosting it, and, we're just going to keep playing together.
Meanwhile, the National Football League has its fair share of holdouts, which are players that actually are not showing up to camp. One of them is Terry McLaurin, Pro Bowl wide receiver of the Washington Commanders. He's not reporting due to a contract dispute. James Cook also has reported to camp as he searches for a new contract extension. And Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, who was so great in college, I would say he had a good career in the NFL too, has decided to retire after 12. Has it really been 12 NFL seasons? Meanwhile, Tony Petitti, he's the commissioner of the Big Ten, says he's unmoved by this new proposed college football selection criteria that he calls incomplete, that the Big Ten remains against a 5+11 format, which is basically instituting the champions, but changing the way that the college football expansion could potentially look in 16 teams. It's very confusing, folks, and it doesn't look like it's imminent, but it is big news if they do go to 16 teams. So here's Tony Petitti on what that would look like and how thus far it seems to be incomplete.
Like the revenue share parameters, the Big Ten and SEC's format control is set forth clearly in the agreement that all members signed. With respect to format, the Big Ten has been consistent in its strong preference for a playoff system that allocates spots based on conference standings and the results of play-in games. We want to better connect the regular season and the postseason. A critical goal of any postseason format, regardless of sport, is to keep as many teams alive as deep into the season as possible. We want more conference games to matter in November. Also, the playoff format should not function as a disincentive to schedule tough non-conference games. As we said throughout this process, we are open to considering any format ideas that come from our colleagues or the CFP staff. But to be clear, formats that increase the discretion and role of the CFP selection committee will have a difficult time gaining support from the Big Ten.
Meanwhile, Venus Williams continues her triumph back to the tennis court. She defeats Peyton Stearns 6-3, 6-4. She made her debut 31 years ago, and she's back on the tennis court at 45 years old, her first match in 16 months. She won in doubles. Now she's won in singles. She'll play in doubles again today and then singles tomorrow, and we'll follow it for you here on NewsWire and give you the update on tomorrow's show. All right, let's get back to baseball here. The Twins take Game 2 in L.A., thrashing the Dodgers by a final of 10-2. Last night hasn't been a good month for the Dodgers, to say the least. Finally, somebody beat the Milwaukee Brewers yesterday. It ended up being the Seattle Mariners, and Logan Gilbert had his best pitching game of the season, folks. 6 1/3, 2 hits, no earned runs, and 10 strikeouts for Gilbert. 11-game winning streak comes to an end. The Marlins beat the Padres 4-1. They led this game, by the way, 4-3. They led this game 4-1 going into the ninth inning. I should know I was there. Francisco Alvarez hit a 2-run home run. He powered the Mets over the Angels. Good news for Alvarez. The Mets are going to need him back and solid. Remember, Alvarez at one point sent back to the minor leagues. Carlos Mendoza talking about some of the young players and the performance that he's seeing.
We're going to need all of them. And, when we made the decision, I'm going to go back to Alvi. When we made the decision to send him back down, it was necessary at the time because we knew how important he is for this team, and we needed to get him back on track. And it's hard to do it at the big league level, when you're looking for results pretty much day in and day out. So for Alvi, Acuna, Beatty, Mauricio, Vientos, all of those guys, they're a big part of this team, and we're going to need all of them. But also understanding that there's development. You have to teach. You have to stay consistent. You have to, do a lot of different things here while they're learning, but at the same time trying to help us win baseball games here.
All right, let's get to the New York Yankees, Toronto Blue Jays. Yankees needed a big hit yesterday. They got several. Cody Bellinger had a nice game with 2 doubles, and he hit a home run off Max Scherzer. Also, Ben Rice, he had the game winner, a home run in the 8th inning. Yankees defeat the Blue Jays. They really needed this one to stay in the American League East race, and they do it. Final was 5-4. That also means Toronto's 11-game home streak is snapped. Here's Bellinger on a couple of extra base hits against Max Scherzer.
But coming into tonight, you didn't have a tremendous amount of success against Scherzer, but you seem to have figured him out tonight. What was the key for you?
Yeah, he's definitely had my number. Honestly, it just felt good, felt really good in the cage today. Really liked where I was at, and wanted to translate that into the game and continue to stick with my plan, and it worked out today.
Are you more proud of the offensive effort you put forth tonight or some of the defensive plays you made?
I think a little bit of both. I think, ultimately for me, I thought Schlittler was out there and pitching really well and against a really tough lineup. So, just want to make a play for him and Offensively, I think we did a good job. Ben Rice, huge homer, get the momentum back on our side, and it was just a really good win.
Red Sox taking on the Philadelphia Phillies, and things have now gone the other way for the Red Sox after a long winning streak. Christopher Sanchez, best game of his career, striking out 12, complete game. Phillies beat the Red Sox 4-1. Alex Cora looking for answers on offense.
Alex, you have 28 strikeouts and 2 walks in the series. What are you seeing at the plate, and what needs to change?
I haven't seen anything. I'm in the bench, but not all kidding aside. Good stuff, man. 2 of the best pitchers in the big leagues. They are. And that's the reason they're good. If we want to play in October, we have to find a way to hit those guys, right? I think yesterday we battled, did a good job against Wheeler. We have our chances, but tonight, I think he was outstanding. You got to tip your hat.
And obviously Roman's a big-time prospect, but he has 8 strikeouts and 9 at-bats. What are you seeing from him? What needs to change from him?
Change?
Yeah, what's his approach? Is what's going on with all the strikeouts in this series?
Good pitching, execution. He'll be okay.
Meanwhile, the Tigers take on the Pirates last night. It's the Pirates winning 8-5. Detroit struggling over the last 10, just 2-8. Max Scherzer placed on the paternity list as well. Probably won't miss a start. Bryce Matthews hits another home run. Man, good for the Astros. They beat the Diamondbacks final of 3-1. Okay, what's going on in Major League Soccer? We've got the All-Star break and some of the All-Star festivities. We'll go through the skills challenge and talk about the formats as well. Renee Washington from Front Office Sports joins us once again on the show this morning, right after the break. What do you make of the season that Barkley had last year as he piled on the yards to get over 2,000, and what can that look like this year?
His year could have been much better with different circumstances here. So he was great. I assume he'll be great again. You want to take Jahmyr Gibbs? I don't have an issue with it, but, Barkley, yeah, you're going to lose the tush push.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
This is interesting. Minus 116s, minus 120s in the marketplace. We're seeing now minus 140s across the board and 6.5s on the total.
He's not a big strikeout pitcher. His metrics look terrible, but he somehow seemingly get 5 innings, 6 innings, only 1 earned run. It's because he's a super ground ball pitcher, induces that soft and medium contact. He can essentially sap the power away from the Dodgers.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Drummond gives you minutes off the bench. I've always been a big Kelly Oubre guy. And Nick Nurse is supposed to be one of the top 5 coaches in the world. You can't tell me that at 12-1, the Philadelphia 76ers aren't at least something you need to consider as a sleeper to make it to the NBA Finals.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How are you going to compete against a guy with 15 entries? A lot of the guys that won Survivor at the Circa, because since I'm there every single year for contest weekend, one guy won it all with 1 entry. And the truth is, he told me that he maxed out his entries the next year because he had the money to do it, and it was a brain. It messed with his brain, right?
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. Renee Washington once again with us. It is Major League Soccer's All-Star break, but that doesn't mean there's no activity. So let's get to the very latest with the Skills Challenge, and then also, of course, the All-Star game coming up tonight. Renee joins us now. You can watch her on Front Office Sports throughout the week here on a SportsGrid. Renee, thanks for coming on the show. Great to catch up again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Happy to be back to talk more MLS All-Star Week.
All right, so let's get right to it. We'll start off with the Skills Challenge yesterday. I know that you are covering this. And look, in this day and age of all-star games and festivities sort of taking a back seat and just kind of punting, to be honest with you, it feels like Major League Soccer's got it right with the Skills Challenge yesterday.
They do. They do. So Team USA, or Team MLS, I should say, competes against La Liga MX's All-Stars, again, in 5 different competitions. It's juggling competitions, shooting, all different types of soccer, crossbar, volleys, just aspects of soccer broken down into individual challenges. But what's unique also is that they incorporate not only current MLS players, but like a legend such as Clint Dempsey, U.S. Women's National Team captain Lindsay Heap, also known as Lindsay Horan before she was married. So it's a great way to incorporate others besides just MLS All-Stars, that they have an opportunity to compete in some fun games. I Show Speed, the YouTube creator, was there as well, hosting the event. So really getting the fans involved. Kids were enjoying it, and it's a fun activity to kick off the All-Star Week.
All right, so let's get into what works for the All-Star game and what Major League Soccer certainly has been able to pull off.
I think the greatest thing about Major League Soccer's All-Star Week is it's continued to grow to become that must-attend event, tentpole. Other leagues, I think, do a great job of the activities around the actual games itself, of having like brunches and events and networking opportunities. The MLS still is looking for that aspect. But on the positive, their actual competitions are very competitive, which is something that other All-Star Weeks have tried to emulate and create. So I think that in terms of the Liga MX, MLS crossover, it does make it a real game for the game that's going to be tonight, but even for the competition of the skills challenge, that makes it unique in that both sides are having fun still, but it is a little different of an audience because you do have La Liga MX fans as well as MLS fans, so it pulls from a whole different demographic, and I think because of that, it allows it to reach a larger audience.
Now, I think that the bigger question, Renee, moving forward for Major League Soccer and maybe for the other sports is, outside of baseball, we've seen, the just lack of players wanting to participate, star players, and just constantly changing formats, especially in the National Football League and also in the NBA. Is there a takeaway from what MLS is doing that the other sports can cue in on?
Unfortunately, the MLS is still in that same conversation as well. I actually was talking to some officials and execs that work with the league over the last 24 hours, and they were mentioning the problem for Major League Soccer that's unique from other sports is they don't have a lot of wiggle room in terms of their scheduling. They said they had to have games as soon as this Saturday because of the fact they're also working around La Liga, the crossover games that soccer has that other sports don't have. So those in-season types of tournaments for MLS include other countries, other leagues. So it's not as easy to say, hey, we're going to push back a game scheduled in Mexico to move a regular season game. So because of the congested MLS soccer schedule, they are almost forced to still have to return back. So there are still players like Lionel Messi, who I know we'll get into, that are needing to rest and not feeling they have enough time off in the course of this All-Star Week, which still seems to be an issue across sports.
All right, so let's hit on Messi here for a minute, because wallet-wise, whatever the fine is not going to make any difference to him. So here's the bigger question, is that being suspended for a game in a league is not something that I've ever heard of for not participating in all-star festivities. And I know financially it won't mean anything. And honestly, Renee, I don't think that, FC Miami, I don't think they're going to care at all about this as well. But does it make a statement potentially for other players in the future? Is Messi sort of being put up there to show, hey, look, if this is what you do, this is what you're going to get?
I think if anything, it might make a statement the wrong way. I mean, Messi is Major League Soccer. Messi is soccer, period. And he is someone that has such a large following and support that people are always going to side with Messi. I mean, even at the stadium yesterday at Q2 Stadium here in Austin, Texas, they were selling Messi jerseys in addition to their Austin jerseys as well. So there are so many people that love Messi. And to see that he's also played in every single minute of the last 19 games for Inter Miami, he needs a rest. Him, Jordi Alba are the two guys from Inter Miami that have actually been completely ghosting, so to speak, the competition. They haven't been at practices. The coaches haven't heard from them. And as you mentioned, they would be suspended a game. But I think for Messi, with all that he's accomplished in his career and how much he's even played this season alone, I think one game for him is probably not a big deal. And it might actually make others consider following suit if they recognize it's only one game that I have to miss, but at least I get rest out of this. So if anything, it gives him more rest, as he would miss the next home game for Inter Miami in addition to missing out on the All-Star Week.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting take there. I didn't really look at it that way, especially with his participation level being maybe higher than some people thought. All right, Renee, so let's close it out here for Major League Soccer's second half. We know they have the contract with Apple TV and certainly, looking to make a bigger footprint in sports as well. I feel like the league is doing a good job. I feel like the streaming rights, all of these different companies, Apple, Prime, Netflix, all looking to add to their sports resume, so to speak. What do you think the future holds for the second half of the season and some of the broadcasting?
Yeah, I think regardless if Messi even misses out on this MLS All-Star Week, it is a success and it will help them take a massive step into the remainder of the season. I know a big question along with what's going on in terms of on the pitch is what's going to go on around the scheduling conversation. I know there are owners that are going to be meeting today. It's the league's board of governors that are meeting today ahead of the game that are going to be discussing if Major League Soccer should look to change their schedule to match the rest international schedule. So I think the remainder of this season might be kind of the continuous watch of when, not if, when that change will happen for Major League Soccer as teams are looking to make that push towards the playoffs. But soccer-wise, it's going to be in a great space of just teams fighting for that top spot of the table, looking to see if they can get 3 points to continue to push for the playoffs. But overall, for Major League Soccer, we're in the midst of a massive change around so many aspects, including the schedule.
Great stuff, Renee. As always, enjoy the festivities tonight and the rest of the week. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, you can catch Renee on Front Office Sports exclusively here on Grid every day at 6 p.m. Eastern here on Sports Grid. We'll take a quick time out. When we come back next, it's time to dive in to the latest on the PGA Tour. It's not the Open Championship, but that means somebody off the grid, so to end up winning. Who will do it? Brady Kannon weighs in next. What do you make of the season that Barkley had last year as he piled on the yards to get over 2,000, and what can that look like this year?
His year could have been much better with different circumstances here. So he was great. I assume he'll be great again. You want to take Jahmyr Gibbs? I don't have an issue with it, but, Barkley, yeah, you're going to lose the tush push.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
This is interesting. Minus 116s, minus 120s in the marketplace. We're seeing now minus 140s across the board and 6.5s on the total.
He's not a big strikeout pitcher. His metrics look terrible, but he somehow seemingly get 5 innings, 6 innings, only 1 earned run. It's because he's a super ground ball pitcher, induces that soft and medium contact. He can essentially sap the power away from the Dodgers.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Drummond gives you minutes off the bench. I've always been a big Kelly Oubre guy. And Nick Nurse is supposed to be one of the top 5 coaches in the world. You can't tell me that at 12-1, the Philadelphia 76ers aren't at least something you need to consider as a sleeper to make it to the NBA Finals.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How are you going to compete against a guy with 15 entries? A lot of the guys that won Survivor at the Circa, because since I'm there every single year for contest weekend, one guy won it all with 1 entry. And the truth is, he told me that he maxed out his entries the next year because he had the money to do it, and it was a brain. It messed with his brain, right?
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Brady Kannon is with us following the very exciting Open Championship. But when the favorite wins, it's really a fun story, Brady. But for sports bettors, always trying to find somebody other than the favorite. It's really hard to do in this landscape with Scottie Scheffler just winning. I mean, like virtually every single championship. It's like more of an upset when he doesn't win.
Yeah, I think he's now won almost 40% of the tournaments he's entered during this stretch, this red hot stretch when he's been number one in the world and what have you. And that's, again, another parallel with that man that wears red on Sundays, Tiger Woods. There's a number of comparisons that are now coming out between the two. And I feel they're all completely justified. The numbers, they're nearly identical. And speaking of identical, I don't know if you saw that one, Craig. That was pretty wild. From winning their first major to winning their fourth major, both Tiger Woods and Scottie Scheffler completed that task in exactly 1,197 days. Both of them, in the exact amount of days, won their fourth major. Pretty wild.
It is. All right. So, Brady, this is why we have you here, because we get to these tournaments, and not all of them after the majors look like this. Some of them, look pretty normal with these names this week, my gosh, I'm going to need some serious help from you on this one. So here we go here. They tee off 7:45 a.m. tomorrow. It's the 3M Open, but it doesn't look like we could even name 3 players in this tournament. No pun intended.
Well, you got Tony Finau, a past winner, him. But you're right.
Right.
The pickings are pretty slim. Chris Gotterup now making a name for himself, winning the Scottish Open and finishing third to Scotty at Royal Portrush. And now the buzz about him possibly being a Ryder Cup selection. But I went a little bit further down to Taylor Pendrith, the Canadian, at 35-1. Max Gracerman at 35-1, who has had 4 runner-up finishes now in his young career, including finishing runner-up here at TPC Twin Cities last year. I got him at 35-1. Kevin Yu at 50-1. Rico Hoey at 60-1. Andrew Putnam at 70-1, and Kevin Roy at 110-1. And Craig, there'll be a quiz next week on how many of those names you can remember.
Oh, we're not even there yet. Wait, hold on. Is that showing? Yeah. Okay. So let's go through this here. Okay. Emiliano Grillo. That's a new
I missed
one.
him. That's right. Yes.
Okay. That's a new one for our show at 50-1. I've heard of Max Greiserman, but I don't believe I've seen him win on the tour yet, unless I'm nuts. I don't recall that. So how are you landing on some of these, Brady? I think your process may be more interesting, no offense, than even the odds are here.
Well, Gracerman, you're right. He has not won on the PGA Tour yet. He's finished runner-up 4 times. And I've seen him get those runner-up finishes in pretty ugly fashion where he's kind of choked away, chances to win. And I've been really wanting to go against this guy for a long time and have successfully on a couple of occasions. But I feel this could be the right timing here, Craig. I think he may be to a point where he's had enough of those failures to build up some scar tissue. He's a very good player. I mean, you don't finish runner-up 4 times in the last month without being pretty good. Now, to our point, what we're talking about here, there's not a lot of star power in this field. He's one of the better players in this field, finished runner-up here last year. It could be the right time. And 35-1, I think, is a pretty good price on, again, one of the better players in this field. So that's why I went with him. Taylor Pendrith has won on tour before. And a lot of these other guys are in really good form right now. And one of the skill sets that I leaned on heavily this week is total driving, a combination of length and accuracy. That has proven to be very successful at this golf tournament in the past. And all of these guys I landed on are very good in that category.
Now, you do have a head-to-head to give us, which I'm always intrigued by here. You got Siwoo Kim having a good tournament, right?
I've got Siwoo as an underdog at even money to beat the aforementioned Chris Gotterup. Now, Gotterup wins the Scottish Open, finishes third, at the British, and now there's this talk about, hey, he's going to make the right. This guy is ascending. His stock is rising very, very quickly. He's the favorite in this tournament, and it's like, wait a minute, guys, slow down. I know he's a nice player, but it happens all the time. Football, baseball, you name it. When a guy has immediate success like that, sometimes he becomes overvalued. And I'm going to say, let's slow down. Siwoo Kim's a tremendous player and has been for a long time. I think Gotterup could have a slip here this week.
All right. I like it, Brady. I know that, generally speaking, you guys don't get to see my phone, but when these obscure live tournaments and these happen, I get the most from Brady on these. And it's not the big ones. It's the smaller ones. I'm like, who is this? What is I mean, I really enjoy it, Brady. Good luck this
Let's
weekend.
get one.
Next week.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You know, they still need Kelsey to beat Kelsey at times. I think they will baby him again. He won't be out there for 70, 80 plays. He's going to be out there for 55 plays, somewhere in that range here to keep him healthy as the season goes on here. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Plus the backup tight end there, he has some big games as well. So I think Kelsey is still very usable, but I think what you want to be careful about is you don't want to draft the name anymore.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Shohei Ohtani can do something that nobody else in Major League Baseball can do. That means being maybe one of, if not the top 5 best hitters in baseball, and then go on the mound and throw some gems out here. Like, he threw 9 innings so far in his season, which isn't a lot, but that ERA is at 1. Are we saying that once he gets to 5 and 6 innings, that ERA is going to stay at 1? No, it isn't. But if it does, my goodness. I mean, just hand him the Cy Young on top of it as well. It's cheating.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Sam McQuillan is in the house from Legal Sports Report. Got some breaking news this morning in the world of sports betting. We'll get to that, as well as all of the other articles you could read over at LegalSportsReport.com. Sam, thanks for coming back on the show. Great to catch up with you here. Let's start off with this piece of breaking news that we learned this morning. Apparently, the beat rolls on in California. They've gone from 2 years ago looking to legalize sports betting, going through the tribes. Let's put it to a vote. That fails. No sweepstakes. No daily fantasy, and now no prediction markets as well. My gosh, things are completely going the other way in the state of California.
Definitely trending that way if you want to do sports betting, or what these tribes and other groups have now called a sports betting adjacent product, or a sports betting workaround if you want to get harsher about it. 3 tribes this morning, the Blue Lake Rancheria, Chicken Ranch Rancheria, and Picayune Rancheria, filed a federal lawsuit in California's Northern District Court, which would seek to block Kalshi and Robinhood from offering these sports prediction markets. These, of course, are these event contract markets that companies like Kalshi have offered for years, mostly on the election, sometimes on the weather, sometimes on the state of the economy. But ever since January, they've started making sports versions of them where you can stake money on the outcome of an event to happen. They started with the Super Bowl, and now they have markets on every MLB game, every NBA game, and there's a lot of speculation that maybe soon they'll have parlays as well that put all these sports events together. Those have been offered in all 50 states, so this is only the latest group you're seeing pushback against them. It's the California tribes, which, like you mentioned, Craig, have a lot of power in California. They were able to stop sports betting from getting legalized on the ballot in 2022. Right. And that was the most expensive ballot campaign in the history of the U.S. So that's no small feat there. They've also been instrumental as well with getting the Attorney General to finally issue his legal opinion on daily fantasy sports, primarily games which, again, these tribes see as just sports betting workarounds. Their argument here is that by offering these sports event contract markets, these companies are violating protections that the tribes have. They have exclusive sovereignty over most forms of gaming in the state, which is one of the reasons sports betting hasn't been legalized. They haven't been able to cut a deal with the sports books that kind of gives them enough money. They kind of hold all the cards there. They also argue that this violates the state gaming compact with California and the tribes, as well as the state constitution. So there's a lot of federal arguments at stake here, as well as state. This comes after a bunch of states we've talked about before: Nevada, New Jersey, Maryland. They all filed similar lawsuits against Kalshi and Robinhood, basically seeking to do the same thing, get a preliminary injunction to stop them from doing these operations in the states. Now, in those cases, the judges have actually all ruled in Kalshi's favor initially, allowing the lawsuit to proceed, allowing Kalshi to keep offering kind of these markets in those states while the lawsuit plays out. So it'll be interesting to see if, it's different now that the tribes are involved versus other states where the regulators have come after them. And notably as well, California is also a state without legal sports betting. All the other states we've seen so far take action against these prediction markets, it's been through their legally regulated agencies, which only exist because they have legal sports betting. And then, of course, you have the whole backdrop of the CFTC, which has pretty much done nothing about these prediction markets under the Trump administration. Previously, it had been very kind of, against the Kalshis and Poly markets of the world under the previous administration. A lot of people have asked the CFTC to weigh in and do something and work with the states, and the CFTC has kind of just waited on the sidelines. So it's yet another development in this prediction markets process. But in the meantime, tons of money is getting traded on these platforms, and they continue to operate in all 50 states. So, but the tribes being involved here is definitely kind of a big move in the direction of getting this stuff banned. We'll just have to see what the courts say.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting to just follow the state of California throughout the rest of the summer and the fall, because I feel like more things are going to happen there. All right, you can read about this next story we're going to discuss over at LegalSportsReport.com. Let's get back into Poly Market. They're returning to the United States. Very competitive market these days in sports betting and everything else. What do you make of this move?
Yeah, Poly Market is like Kalshi, one of these huge prediction markets. They have not been able to get in on the sports prediction market craze in the US because they've actually been banned from operating here as part of a federal settlement they had a couple years ago with Department of Justice and the CFTC. Now, just a week after those two federal agencies dropped their investigation into whether Poly Market allegedly violated terms of that settlement by offering contracts here, Poly Market all of a sudden bought this exchange called QCX, which just got their license from the CFTC to offer these prediction markets, giving Poly Market essentially a pathway to return to the US to not just do political markets, not just do event contracts, but of course, sports prediction markets as well. So it's kind of ironic here. Their big rival was Kalshi. Kalshi's kind of the one that has blazed the trail here by going through these sports prediction markets. So it's kind of ironic if Kalshi is able to get that through, then Poly Market is going to use that as a mechanism to get back in and rival them. But the CEO came out this week and said it's the first step to bringing Poly Market home. Poly Market was just valued at $1 billion, which a lot of that probably baked in is the potential in the sports prediction market space. And of course, they just recently partnered with X, the social media platform, to eventually integrate their real-time odds and market data into the AI chatbot called Grok. So we've kind of seen the breadcrumbs of them returning to the US for a while, ramping up with partnerships there, obviously geared towards the US market. And Sportico actually did a really interesting story last week about how Poly Market has been targeting US users with Facebook ads. They spent over $1 million on those ads, despite not being able to be here. So they've been laying the groundwork to return to the US for a while. They just did $6 billion in trades overseas for the first half of 2025, which would make it the largest prediction markets globally. So this is another case of we're seeing a lot of money being pumped into this sector that we don't really know if it's legal. A lot of people are saying it's not. We don't know when a decision is going to come. But in the meantime, the finance world is getting in on it, and it's really turning into a huge business in just a few months. So once Poly Market joins, they haven't announced a date to re-enter the US yet, but once Poly Market joins, it's going to throw another wrench in this whole thing and make it even more complicated, even more lawyers, even more money at stake, and a lot of battles for sure.
All right. So, Sam, what's your take on what's going on in Illinois? A couple of the different operators, BetMGM, Hard Rock, are raising the minimums on sports bets. Like my theory, I think is completely wrong. My theory was that they're just tired of people dropping a buck and throwing down like 20-team parlays. I'm probably wrong on that because they want money. But what am I missing here with this?
I definitely don't think you're completely wrong. That's always part of it. If they can get people to bet more, they will bet. BetMGM just announced a $2.50 minimum for any bet, and Hard Rock the same thing with a $2 minimum. But this all comes because it's only in Illinois, so this all becomes because the state has chosen to raise sports betting taxes tremendously over the past year. They just added a new 25-cent per bet fee to every bet that an operator will take. And then after the first 20 million of bets that an operator takes, that increases to 50 cents. So if you're BetMGM or Hard Rock, you want people to bet larger amounts because then part of that is going to go in the fee. You get to keep more of the money. We saw DraftKings and FanDuel introduce their surcharges, which essentially just passes the fee directly to the customer. Now, interestingly enough, DraftKings and FanDuel are the only companies that qualify for that kind of higher 50-cent per bet fee. That's why you haven't seen the other companies do it. But it's going to be a case of we're going to see how bettors respond. Is this going to change their behavior? I tend to agree with you, Craig, that I think that kind of people are just going to bet, $2 instead of $1. It's not that big of a difference. And the companies at the end of the day, while they are absorbing, higher tax burden, it's also going to allow them to kind of get away with, taking more bets and squeezing more money out of people, which at the end of the day is all kind of what this comes down to for the sports books. Certainly other states will be watching. We've seen plenty of others consider raising their tax rates, but Illinois is going to be a really great test case where we see these new policies actually implemented that change the betting behavior. And then we'll have to see how that actually impacts things and kind of where we go from there across the rest of the country.
Makes sense. Sam, enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire once again.
Yep, you too. Thanks, Craig.
Simon Applebaum is up next. Don't go away.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They still need Kelsey to beat Kelsey at times. I think they will baby him again. He won't be out there for 70, 80 plays. He's going to be out there for 55 plays, somewhere in that range here to keep him healthy as the season goes on here. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Plus the backup tight end there, he has some big games as well. So I think Kelsey is still very usable, but I think what you want to be careful about is you don't want to draft the name anymore.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Shohei Ohtani can do something that nobody else in Major League Baseball can do. That means being maybe one of, if not the top 5 best hitters in baseball, and then go on the mound and throw some gems out here. Like he threw 9 innings so far in his season, which isn't a lot, but that ERA is at 1. Are we saying that once he gets to 5 and 6 innings, that ERA is going to stay at 1? No, it isn't. But if it does, my goodness, just hand him the Cy Young on top of it as well. It's cheating.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on Sports Grid. Let's bring in Simon Applebaum. You can catch his podcast tomorrow. Will be televised wherever you download your apps and podcasts as well. It does a great job breaking down the latest in ratings and as it pertains to sports betting as well. Simon, great to see you here. I know that we're going to be focused in on a ton of football starting next week. I know that. It's probably our last show really on the other stuff here, but thanks for coming back on the show. Let's dive right in. The Open Championship always does great numbers across the world. Here in the United States, sometimes a little bit different, of course, because of the time change. How about this year's event with Scotty Scheffler? How did they weigh in?
Well, this year, Craig, and great to be with you, far better. 20% plus lift for both the Sunday event and for Saturday and Sunday together on NBC and Peacock. It was 4.1 million people on average that watched it on Sunday. It was NBC and Peacock combined. 6.1 million when Scheffler got the championship, even though, and Rory finished his round. And that was like around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern time. For Saturday and Sunday, 3.5, 3.6 million. USA Network, which had the early wee hours coverage, they did about 1 million plus each day, and that was pretty good for them. Coverage-wise, the visuals from Royal Point were fantastic. However, one big problem for NBC, too many on-air cooks for the coverage, particularly on the weekends. Having 4 on-air teams separate time, divide the time, was really outrageous. You had Mike Tirico and his partner. You had Dan Hicks, NBC Sports' lead golf commentator, and his partner. You had Steve Sands from Golf Channel and his partner. And you had Terry Gann, who, by the way, if you don't know, is going to become an NBA play-by-play voice this fall for NBC and Peacock. He's the newest member of that NBA announce team. He was also with his partner. So you have 4 on-air teams, and sometimes they were like going on top of each other. You had Tirico with Gannon. You had Tirico with Hicks. You had Tirico with Sands, and it was like crazy. 2 is fine. You know, I get you want to have coverage from, let's say, 7 a.m. in the morning till, let's say, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and then have, let's say, Hicks and his partner do the rest, which is like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But 4, way too much, and you had the opportunities just like go all over the place and bump into each other. And it's a shame because visually the coverage was sensational.
All right, well, fair enough, and good to see numbers going up there. Now, let's get over to Netflix here. We know that they're starting to become more of a player in live sports and sporting events. How about the idea that Netflix could get involved in sports betting? What would that even look like, Simon?
Well, at first glance, you might think, I mean, Netflix doesn't do that much live sports, except for documentaries. So what about this idea of being a sports betting player and maybe being competitive to ESPN, which could be launching a sports betting on TV service with their mega content launch this fall? But here's the thing. Netflix is a global programmer. B, they now are an advertising player. They're an ad player in the United States. They expect to have $2 billion in advertising this year in the U.S. alone. They're in Canada. They're in 9 other countries. And here's the big thing. This fall, Netflix is introducing interactive advertising for the first time. Pause ads and maybe shoppable ads. And they're doing it with their own infrastructure. They're not counting on Microsoft or somebody else to be a third party for this. So Netflix now has their own ad sales infrastructure to do interactive ads. If they can particularly come up with a shoppable ad service where you use your remote control or a voice feature like Alexa Plus or Siri to do it, as opposed to smartphone, QR code on a side of the TV screen, smartphone up against it, then the smartphone does the rest. If they can make it work and make it secure, sports betting could be a big jump-off point, not only for the United States, but for Canada and for other countries. And they could very easily become a major player in it. So you got to keep an eye on this. And I will bet you that Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters and the rest of the executive crew at Netflix, they're going to be watching very carefully what ESPN does this fall with their mega content service and their sports betting feature. If they think they can do better, they might jump in, and that might force FanDuel and DraftKings and all the other sports betting players to finally jump into television.
Yeah, good points there. All right, so, full transparency, Simon, this afternoon programming on Fox. I mean, I haven't watched any of this stuff in years. I mean, so, when I'm learning the news, it seems to be big news, but for me, it's not something that I consume like ever. No offense to them. I mean, maybe they don't watch me. I understand. But a major shakeup at Fox again. It feels like, I mean, how many times, Simon, in the last few years has there been a shakeup? But this time, it does seem to me like they're going to get more eyeballs on what they're trying to do here because they've gotten Barstool involved and Dave Portnoy involved too. And so they have a very strong, loyal following here. I know that they tried to partner up at one point with ESPN that didn't work. Maybe this is a better fit. But Simon, it does beg the question. how many different darts can you throw without hitting the target and eventually just say, hey, look, like maybe there's just something completely different we need to do. Does this qualify as that for Fox?
It could, and this may be the last shot that Fox Sports 1 has to challenge ESPN, because right now Fox Sports Network, when it comes to daytime television, has no identity compared to ESPN, where you have First Take, you have Pat McAfee, you have Pardon the Interruption, you have now the Sports Center at 5 o'clock. So this may be Fox Sports' one last chance. And the way this is going to go is Portnoy and Barstool are going to supply a 2-hour morning show, 8 to 10 a.m. to compete with Get Up. And they're also going to have First Things First, probably, which is their afternoon show, expand from, let's say, 60 minutes to 90 minutes or 2 hours. And they're hoping that the bookend will be enough to have Fox Sports 1 give more of an identity. In addition, Portnoy is also going to be a personality on Big Noon Kickoff, which is the 2-hour kickoff show to Fox's college football coverage in the fall. And if you've seen the recent videos about this, Portnoy is coming off as, I'm going to be the person that loves Michigan so much, you're going to be the person that if you're an Ohio State fan or another Big Ten college fan, you're going to love to hate me, and you're going to watch me on Big Noon Kickoff starting in the fall. So let's see how Barstool does. Could they be the thing that puts Fox Sports 1 over the top and finally gives identity? We'll see. If it isn't, then I think Fox Sports 1 days and daytime are done.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think, Simon, I mean, look, I mean, some people like or don't like Barstool or Dave Portnoy. I mean, I have found his stuff entertaining through the years. Maybe I'm just, one of those that follow him on social media and see, the pizza reviews and all that. Like, I think he's done an incredible job building that brand. But I would say this, Simon, at the expense of a lot, right, Simon? Like, they fired a lot of people last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Fox Sports 1, this is a big overhaul for Fox Sports 1. They have got to come through with this, and if they don't, and the numbers don't go up, I think Fox Sports 1 is really done for, at least as far as daytime programming is concerned. So they're hoping for Portnoy. This could be it. Portnoy's going to be their Pat McAfee, give it or not.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair shot to take. We'll see if it works out. Simon, thanks again for coming on. We'll see you again next week.
You got it, Craig. Take care.
Sports betting is affecting the ACC in the upcoming college football season. How so? I'll tell you next as we wrap it up here on NewsWire.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They still need Kelsey to beat Kelsey at times. I think they will baby him again. He won't be out there for 70, 80 plays. He's going to be out there for 55 plays, somewhere in that range here to keep him healthy as the season goes on here. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Plus the backup tight end there, he has some big games as well. So I think Kelsey is still very usable, but I think what you want to be careful about is you don't want to draft the name anymore.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Shohei Ohtani can do something that nobody else in Major League Baseball can do. That means being maybe one of, if not the top 5 best hitters in baseball, and then go on the mound and throw some gems out here. Like, he threw 9 innings so far in his season, which isn't a lot, but that ERA is at 1. Are we saying that once he gets to 5 and 6 innings, that ERA is going to stay at 1? No, it isn't. But if it does, my goodness, I mean, just hand him the Cy Young on top of it as well. It's cheating.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Another shoe has dropped in college football. The ACC following suit for some of the other bigger conferences. I'll tell you what that exactly means. Also, Pete Crow Armstrong has a lot of fans, but one fan in particular got a visit. And we'll also wrap up the show with a little bit more fun commentary. It's time now for us to complete our program here for this Wednesday, to say the least. Time for some last licks. All right, welcome ACC to the world of sports betting. I mean, they're being pretty transparent on the reason why they're doing what they're doing. Jim Phillips says the ACC is going to require injury reports. That's right, college football, just like the pros. In football, men's and women's hoops, and baseball 2 days before games with updates the day before and even on game day. So they're following the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten. We are in a world of sports betting. And in order to make sure people get the appropriate news, they're going to release injury reports in the ACC as well. My understanding is just for the interconference games, at least for now. But you know, in the end, it's going to be for everything else as well. Good step taken here, so I applaud it. And also it'll be done to protect players and coaches from people trying to get inside betting information surrounding injuries. Makes a lot of sense. I think it worked out very well last year for the SEC and the Big Ten. I'm sure it'll work out very well for the ACC. No doubt about that. College football begins. Am I right by saying in 1 month? 1 month till college football? Is that it? 4 weekends away? Good stuff. Pete Crow Armstrong, one of the candidates to probably not win MVP, but maybe finish second or third this year in the MVP voting, had a little visit at Wrigleyville this weekend. There were some kids having a lemonade stand outside Wrigley. And one of them, I guess, is a very big Pete Crow Armstrong fan trying to raise some money. So what he did was he put his hair kind of bleached with some blue stars, just like Pete Crow Armstrong did. And wouldn't you know, the All-Star PCA heard about it going on outside and then randomly showed up to meet the kids and also gave them enough money to get the hairdo that they wanted to get. No doubt this is all, I got to end with some good stories here on the show. To see players participate in kids' event, to me, always warms my heart. Having a kid who grew up in baseball like I have as well. Good job by Pete Crow Armstrong showing up. I guess a lemonade stand is the thing to do. We'll see if other kids follow suit here. Okay, the big story in the world yesterday was the passing of legendary hard rock metal category, you pick it, singer Ozzy Osbourne. Passed away at the age of 76 years old. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but several weeks ago had a farewell concert. So kind of incredible to think that he even did that concert. But one of his songs was played before every single New England Patriots game. I did not know this, actually. Like, sometimes I know these things with the songs and sometimes I didn't know. But one of Ozzy's classics was played before every time the Patriots ran onto the field for years and years. And so how are we translating this to sports? The Patriots ended up honoring the life and legacy of Ozzy Osbourne yesterday, who passed away at the age of 76 years old. He was ill for a long time and, certainly a very iconic figure in sports. The thing that I would wonder about Ozzy Osbourne is he was one of, for, probably 2 decades, maybe like the 70s and 80s, maybe into the 90s, one of the all-time greats as far as musician is concerned. Did he even surpass that with one of the very first reality shows of all time on MTV? He may have. I mean, when you think about his popularity, it was over the course of decades singing. And then really when he didn't, he was on that reality show with his wife and his kids all the time on MTV. It's one of the first ones I remember I actually watching, like The Real World. I don't know if you saw that one. I'm old, so I do. On MTV. And then what was that called, by the way? Why is it escaping me? Ozzy Osbourne's show. Was it something with the Osbournes? The Osbournes. That's it. Okay, thanks, Luke. Yeah, just the Osbournes. So rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Never saw him in concert. Wasn't ever a big, fan of his music or anything like that, but obviously respect the fact that he did it for so many years. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Thanks again to Renee Washington from Front Office Sports for coming on the program. Also, thanks to Brady Kannon for jumping on, talking some golf, as well as Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. Up next, we got Smiley Kaufman with more on the 3M Championship on the PGA Tour. That's at noon Eastern. It's followed by Scott Farrell Coast to Coast at 3. Front Office Sports at 6 to 6:30. Game time decisions following that, and then in-game live game day and Gabe to wrap it all up on Sports Rage tonight. Thanks again to Luke for directing the show, although he's leaving us for a couple days, going on vacation. Thanks again to Frank, our producer. I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy the rest of your day here on Sports Grid. We'll see you back tomorrow morning for our next edition of the show. Have a great one.